What is going on, everyone? Trust the Buzz here. If you're new to the channel, I make Charlotte Hornets content, so if that interests you, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. I am like 70 something away, 75 I want to say, away from 1,000 subscribers. So if you want to help me out, make sure you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you want more people to see my content, more Charlotte Hornet fans to see this content, make sure you hit that like button just because it helps with the algorithm. If you cannot tell by the thumbnail title of this video, in today's video we're going to be talking about how the Pelicans want Scoot. It is not known whether they will move to 2 or 3, but it is known that they want Scoot. They have picks. However, both teams, I feel, at 2 and 3, the Hornets and the Trailblazers, do not want picks. I can see a world where the Trailblazers might take the picks just because of the fact that if the Pelicans give them enough picks, you can see the Trailblazers package those picks and trade for a player. However, I think they would more likely have a player. Hornets as well. Hornets especially. I don't think they're looking to have picks. I think they're looking to have players if they were to trade out of 2. With saying that, who are the players that the Hornets or Trailblazers would want? It's very easy. I'm trying to figure out this mic, but it's very easy. It's Brandon Ingram or Zion Williamson. And then you have to also throw in guys like Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, Dyson Daniels. Those type of guys will also have to be involved in that trade in some combination, not all of them. And I'm gonna kind of explain why, and then we can kind of talk about hypotheticals and things like that. The reason the Pelicans will have to add so much capital is because you're trading for a number 2 pick or a number 3 pick, whether it is to get Scoot. Brandon Ingram has 2 years left on his deal and was injured a lot last season. So therefore, if you're a team, why am I trading 2 or 3 for a guy who only has 2 years left so he could leave? And just recently he has injury concerns. I wouldn't say that his whole career is injury concern, but just last season. So it is recency bias, but still, that's something you think about, especially considering you only get 2 years of Brandon Ingram. Now, then you look at Zion. He is a complete injury concern. He is one of the best players in the NBA when healthy. I will say that I think a disconnect between him and the franchise has played a small part into him not being completely healthy or him not playing as much as you would like, but a majority of it is him just not being healthy. If you're the Hornets, if you're the Trailblazers, I wouldn't take that risk. Trailblazers, I see more so than the Hornets, because the Trailblazers, you're trying to make this the year for Dame. A healthy Zion can do that. And then maybe you're just like, okay, we're trying this year. This is our last year. We're going all in, trying to help Dame. If it doesn't work, then we'll finally move on. So I could see you take on Zion and just, hey, we'll roll with the punches. If not Dame, then we have a Zion here, and then he really doesn't have to play until he's ready, because we're trying to build a roster around him as he heals. I don't think they would do that. I'm just saying that that would make more sense than the Hornets. So that is why, if you're a Pelicans fan, you're like, I wouldn't do any trade or blah, blah, blah. I get it. I wouldn't either. And I think that's kind of the point, is that that price has to be so high, because the 2 things you have that has the most value are Zion and Brandon Ingram. Brandon Ingram, like I said, is just coming off an injury, only has 2 years left of his deal. That could also maybe work with Trailblazers, because he only has 2 years left. So if he does not work this year or next year, then okay, we're blowing it all up. Trade Brandon Ingram, trade Dame. That could work for the Trailblazers. So I more so see it making sense for the Trailblazers than the Hornets, but it is what it is. I'm not here saying the Pelicans need to make this trade. Of course, I like a trade that could consist of, you know, us giving them 2. And then we get, I think they have 14. So we take 14 Brandon Ingram, maybe Trey Murphy and Dyson Daniels. And then we give them 2 Gordon Hayward, Terry, maybe. And I don't know, maybe that's it. So it's a steep trade for the Pelicans. But if you want Scoot, that's what you're going to have to do. And I don't think you want to do that. That's kind of where I'm saying I don't think this trade news will go anywhere. They can want Scoot all they want, but are they willing to make that type of trade? I personally don't know how they feel about Zion. I don't know. I know that they just signed him. I know that, I believe rather, there is some stipulations in his contract where he has to play a certain amount of games to get paid a certain amount of money. I understand like all of that around it, but I just don't know how they truly feel about Zion and if they're willing to go ahead and trade off him. And then on top of that, how do they feel about Zion selling him to other teams? Because if I'm the Hornets, if I'm the Trailblazers, I'm kind of like, why do you want to trade Zion? You know, when he's healthy, he's one of the best players in the league. So if you're the Pelicans, how do you sell that? And that's the point. It's tough. It's supposed to be tough. These type of trades are never easy. These type of trades is never, that's a fair trade. At the beginning, it's always going to be this person fleeced this team or this team fleeced that team. It's always going to be that. And then over time, it gets gradually better or worse. But I get it. It's not going to be an easy trade, but that's what you have to look at if you're a Pelicans fan. Now, for the Hornets, like I said, I wouldn't mind Brandon Ingram. It's just, I've seen this enough. Brandon Ingram is by far the best player we would do this for. But I've seen it with Al Jefferson, who came in and was really good, but still it's just like, it was just like, it didn't really move that much. They made the playoffs, but it wasn't like a hard hitting, like, oh, this is really going to change, you know, what we got going on in the next couple of years. We've seen it with Lance Stevenson, who, I mean, obviously that wasn't a good idea of them. They, you know, Lance Stevenson was coming off his time with the Pacers, and then they expected him to kind of be like the lead almost, or the second best player with the Hornets. That just didn't make any sense. And then we saw it with Gordon Hayward, where they paid him all this money. He can't stay healthy, which is something he couldn't do anyway. So I've seen it enough. Brandon Ingram is none of those guys. I'm not comparing the player to the previous players. I'm comparing just the move, the mindset, and I just don't want to do that again. I'm not saying Brandon Ingram's going to get injured if we trade for him, but he could leave. I mean, I know he's from North Carolina, but it would have to be. I would want Brandon Ingram more than I would want Zion, just because of the simple fact that Zion, I really don't even care what he got going on off the court. That's him. And who can we talk? We're allowing Miles Bridges back on the team, so we can't really say much. Freaky Z can do whatever he wants. But I really would want Brandon Ingram if this were to happen. I really don't want it to happen. I'd rather just home grow it, but I'm not the manager. I would rather have Brandon Ingram. It would have to be an extension guaranteed. Like, Brandon Ingram has to come to Charlotte and be like, I am going to extend. And then they add Dyson Daniels, one of Herbert Jones, Trey Murphy. I like both, but one of them. And then 14. And who at 14, off the top of my head, we could take someone like Cason Wallace, maybe. Grady Dick would be in that conversation, even though I'm not saying that. This is off the top of my head. I'm thinking of people in that range. Jalen Hood-Schifino, I think, would be a good combo guard next to LaMelo. It's obviously not Scoot. It's obviously not Brandon Miller. But if they were going to make this trade and get Brandon Ingram, a starting small forward, and a decent shooting guard Dyson Daniels is a menace on defense, I'm okay with that. If that's going to be the move we're going to make. But it's just different. It's just weird just because of the fact that you don't really know what anybody's thinking. I mean, Brian Windhorst said on Get Up Today, no one knows what the Trailblazers are thinking, what the Hornets are thinking. So anyone that says they do know, they're lying to you or they're making it up. But let me know what you think down in the comment section below about the potential of trading the number 2 pick. I personally wouldn't do it, but if we do it, it has to be a haul of some kind. And also, I wouldn't even take this news as the Hornets are dangling the pick. They may be dangling it, but it's how desperate can these teams get? Because at some point, we hear it all the time in every sport. I mean, mainly basketball and football, just because of the way the draft is and how the draft is hyped. We hear it all the time. This team was offering this, and this for that. Every time. We hear it every time. So the Hornets, I'm not mad at them for doing their due diligence. See what's out there. You have the number 2 pick. You can pick anyone you want outside of Victor. Anybody you want. So why not see what teams, how desperate teams may be? Some teams, they see this year as the window because the new CBA kicks in next year. So if we want to win, we can win this year. We'll reset everything, later. It's just, teams are going to be desperate. How desperate? I do not blame the Hornets for shaking the pick around, showing, hey, we might be willing to give it up. What are you willing to give up to get that pick? I'm not faulting them for that at all. So I just hope they make the right decision in whatever they do. If they want to pick at 2, pick the right player at 2. If you want to trade, make sure it's a good trade. That's all I ask. I can't help you. I can't make the decision of what you should do between picking and trading. I can't do that for you. I mean, they know that. They're not asking me. I wish they were, but they're not asking me. But if you're going to do either or whatever you plan to do, just make sure it's the best option. If you're, like I said, if you're trading a pick, make sure you get the best haul possible. If you're picking at number 2, make sure you pick your best player. So that's all I ask. But let me know what you think. Draw up some trade down in the comment section below. Try to make them as even as possible. I've seen trades on Twitter that I like, and I love this trade. I want to hear from Pelicans fans just because of the fact that if I like it so much, obviously it may not be the best trade for the Pelicans. It's hard to know how they value their players. It's hard to know, you know, what they find important. So I'm not going to push that on them. Maybe I can try to get a Pelicans fan on here, and then maybe we can talk about it. But for sure, I'm just very interested to see what y'all say. I personally would not trade the pick. I would just rather take the pick the right person, move on. But hey, there's all types of questions and stuff in the air. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. And also don't forget to subscribe. We're on the road to 1K. I have the watch hours, just need the subscribers. I can't do that without you. None of this would be possible without you. So please continue to support, and I really appreciate it. And I have a lot of content. I recorded a lot yesterday or Sunday. So it's just gonna be small stuff here and there, but it's a lot. So yeah, be on the lookout for that. It may not be time sensitive or anything like that. And I'm also probably going to release this video before I release my Brandon Miller video that I have coming out later today. So yeah, that does it. And thank you so much for watching. Peace.